originally we made an agreement. He will pay me back like £50 each month. And because now he's so heartbroken, he goes, you know what? I'm not going to pay you back. You're not going to get your money back. And I was like, literally just, and it was like, click here to book your first, book a call to find out more. I was like, you know what? Let's find out more. Listen, whenever it says find out more, it's not just find out more. They will somehow, these are salespeople, by the way. They will somehow manage to get you to sign up for it. Signed up, and I was in £15,000 debt, and they written all off. So literally paid all the loans that I took out, all the credit cards. So 2 bank loans, 2 credit cards.
People do that so often. Like, and I get when you're not happy with your finances or you've made a decision and you're like, oh my gosh, what have I done? You just kind of feel embarrassed and you don't want people to judge you.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Cilia Li Show. It's your girl Celia here. One of the things that I don't have pattern in my life is my finance. I am actually really bad at financial management. Something that I've never really admitted that I'm bad at. I'm always trying to avoid. I don't know if you can relate. Basically, I always want to avoid looking at my bank account. Like, I'm thinking, oh yeah, I think I know how much I've got in there. I just never want to open my app to know how much I've got. But however, I came across this lady who calls herself a financial PT on Instagram. And I was like, I need her to come on my podcast and not only help me, but also help other women out there. So without further ado, let's welcome Peta-Kay.
Thank you so much for having me, Celia. And I love the fact that from the moment we spoke, you pronounced my name right, which is really rare.
Right, well, how do people
Most people say Peta-Kay.
Oh, I just heard.
Well, you said it perfectly. So
yeah, for me, well, I don't know. I just read it as Peta-Kay straight away.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know why. Yeah.
Well, yeah, so that was already a great start for me.
Okay,
I was like, oh, she said my name right. It's really rare.
Okay, that's good. So yeah, so you're finance PT.
Your finance PT is more like my personal brand name that I put together. But I'm a finance coach. And a qualified financial advisor. But I thought I wanted to have like a name that people can relate to. Like if you want to get more fit or learn how to, work out in the gym, for example, you get a personal trainer. So I thought I can be your finance PT, so I can train you for you to learn how to manage your money better.
That's
where I kind of put it together.
Yeah, that's what caught my attention actually. I was like, really? Oh, that's clever, finance PT. Yeah, I was like, that's really clever.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's why I was like, let me follow her, and I was just like stalking you, looking at your Instagram. I was thinking she needs to come on podcast because I need her, and I think other women like me would need her as well.
Oh, I love that. Thank you.
So before we get into all this finance education, what did you do before?
So let's go back a little bit.
Yeah.
So I used to work in dentistry 4 years ago now. I was, the simplest way I can put it, I was like a business manager for the dental service line in a company that I worked for. And I was doing that for a couple of years. And it got to the point at the end of 2019, I knew that I wanted to leave that job because I really hated it. I enjoyed the financial side of it. Which kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But there was just so many things I had to do. There wasn't work-life balance. And I just found myself constantly thinking about work. It was one of those jobs where I'm on annual leave and people are calling me about work. I'm sick. People are calling me about work. It was just like constantly taking over my life. And I really wanted a career change. So at that point, I was looking for other jobs, even jobs that I was overqualified for or had more experience, and like nothing was working out. And I got to the point where I was just like, I hate this job. I can't do it. I just need to get out. So I remember there was a day at work, I called my husband and I was like, what would you think if I handed in my notice today? And he was like, it's fine. Like, I support you, because he already knew how unhappy I was. Yeah. And it was so draining that I'd come home from work. At the time I was 25, mind you. And I felt like an old lady. I had no energy. I would get home from work. I'd be exhausted and I have no energy to do anything because of work. And I just thought, this is just not healthy. So I left that job. This was about a month before the first lockdown. So bear in mind, I left thinking, oh, it's fine. I'll be able to find something else and it will be okay. Then it was a lockdown and it was like, oh, okay, so maybe this wasn't the perfect time to leave my job. Financially, I knew that would be fine because my husband was working and his salary would cover our bills and we had savings. So I knew that would be fine. Yeah. But it was more in the sense of it's not going to be as quick as I thought. But one thing I'm really grateful for with that time was it gave me time to really think about what are my skills, what am I passionate about, what do I actually want to do. I've always been someone that I enjoy helping people. Like I love helping people reach their goals. And even as a manager, that's one of the parts I enjoyed, like seeing my team grow, seeing their confidence grow. And I just thought, why not use my financial skills and the fact that I like coaching and helping people to help people with their personal finances.
Mm-hmm.
For myself, let's say 6 years ago, I wasn't always good with money.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, I wasn't. Like, I've had good traits in the sense, like, especially when I was younger, I'd be that kid that I'd save money when I get it. I'd always be thinking about how I could make more money from a young age. But in terms of as I got older and started having my own money, I would just spend money, I wouldn't know where it went. And I would just be thinking,
I
like,
can relate.
and I wasn't the kind of girl where I'd have like expensive things, but it would be like eating out with my friends. And I'm very generous. So at the time, they didn't have money. So I'm like, oh, it's okay, girl, I'll pay for you. So it was just like lots of little things like that.
Yeah.
And I would just end up like spending money on silly things. And so when I first got married, I started realize, because at that point I didn't live at home anymore, and I started to really realize what adulting was and how quickly your money can go, like bills and just day-to-day living. So from that point I was like, okay, I need to actually start budgeting. So I just started to be a bit more disciplined and actually planning for things, because that's something I wouldn't do. I started planning and I created like a little budget spreadsheet that I started using for myself, and that really helped to kind of like track our finances, see where things are going, and actually plan. And at the time that I made that, I never thought that anyone would be using it, or that years later I'd be helping other people with their finances. But I'd say that that realization that you actually need to be intentional about your money was what kind of kickstarted me into actually doing research and just actually putting things that I was learning into practice, and kind of just fast forwarded to where we are now.
No, I thought you was going to tell me something like, you went broke, bankrupt, things
Okay,
like that.
no,
Yeah.
not to that limit.
Yeah.
It's like I had bad habits,
Yeah.
but at the same time, there's a lot of things that I saw from my mom. Like, there was a point in my career where I was earning more than my mom, but she always had more money than me. And that was because my mom has always been very good at managing money. She can have a little, but she will make that money stretch.
Yeah.
She will save, she will budget. She always lived within her means. And that's one of the things that really made me think, like, how can she be better than me? And she has, like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, same. Like, I totally relate what you just said there, because so I used to work in events, and I used to be the manager, and I had interns working working with me, and okay, fair enough, because they're intern, obviously they don't get paid, they get travel expenses, but but I remember this girl, she would do nannying on the side, like three times a week, so she'll get a bit of cash. So she basically came to UK from Spain, but she still managed to cover her rent and her food and stuff like that, and still be able to go out. I'm thinking, I'm got a full-time job and I was driving a car. Maybe that's a bit that as well. But however, it seemed like I'm still like struggling with money. So I'm thinking, how are these people doing it? How are people still able to be renting in London, only earning this amount, a little bit less than me, but I'm still struggling to find like money left, like to go savings and things like that. So I'm like, there must be wrong with the way I'm like managing my money, but I always be nervous to think about it. And like, you know, the budget spreadsheet that you said, I tried. I really have tried, Peta-Kay. Like,
but you know what? A budgeting spreadsheet is not for everyone. I think you've got to think of it like this. We all learn differently. For some people, they like writing things down. Others are like an app. Me, I love a spreadsheet. You just got to find what works for you.
Yeah, because I tried spreadsheet. I'll be good for 2 weeks, like tracking what goes in, what goes out, okay, and a balance, blah blah blah, things like that. And then come for it the third week, I'm like, oh, I can't bother. Let me do that later. And then I thought, okay, let me start again next month. Let me start again, and it just doesn't work for me. But however, that being said, I started it again this last month, because my intention for 2024 is abundance, and I need to be good with my financial management. So I was like, you know what, Cilia, you gotta get it together. So I got a spreadsheet. I've been very disciplined in like tracking stuff.
Yeah.
So now I know what I have, because when I did I did the budget, and I'm thinking, basically I saw I'm supposed to have like £400 for £500 left each month.
Yeah.
But there was nothing. I don't know where it's gone.
Since you started tracking, have you noticed where it's gone? Like, can you see maybe where you're spending, or?
Yes, basically, but they are necessities though. So I'm saying, like, for example, like studio time, studio hours, all business stuff, and also personal stuff is basically food. Well, I guess I could shop as a cheaper place though. But yeah, but now I know where it's going. it's I'm not as anxious to spend because
Yeah.
I put a budget pot, like this is for dancing, this is for my transportation, this is for petrol. So like as soon as I get paid, I put them into these, like, on Monzo, for example,
Yeah.
you can do like,
Put them in different pots.
yeah, pots, yes, that's the word. And so I do that. So every time I wanted to was to go to petrol station, take some money out, and then I do it, and then I pay for it. So then I know that I've spent 20 quid on petrol,
Mm-hmm.
for example. So it's been working like that. So I really have to be on it. Yeah.
I love that. But it's a good start.
Yeah.
And I guess like anything, it's a habit.
Mm.
You just got to work on building it up.
So, okay. So then let's talk about 5 tips, maybe 5 tips on how to manage your finance better during this time, because inflation and all of that, life is really life
Mm-hmm. I'd say the first thing is really to just do like a review of your finances. I
Okay.
think this could be the hardest part, especially if you feel like you're not in a good financial position. But unless you really review where you are, there's no way that you can improve your situation. So review your finances as far as looking at how much income you have coming in, how much money you should have left after your
So
expenses.
what I'm doing is correct then.
Yeah, what you're
Okay.
doing, you're on the right steps.
Okay.
So look at how much money you should have left in theory after like all your expenses, and also look at, if you do have debts, how much debts you have, who you owe, what the interest is charged on those debts. Also look at how much savings you have, and then you look at, okay, what are my goals? What do I actually want to work towards? And if you do find, let's say you're in a position where your income and expenses is basically very close, there's not much leeway, there's not much money left over, then it's just looking at, okay, what can I do to either reduce my non-essentials, or if it's a case that right now you are really just living at your essentials, what can I actually do to get some extra income? So firstly, look at your situation, review it. I know it's hard and it can feel quite daunting as well, especially if you're like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to know.
Yeah.
But trust me, it's better to know so
Yeah.
that you can
Like me.
actually,
Yeah.
I think the fear is bigger than what the
Yeah.
actual thing is, but it's better for you to know so you can actually make
Yeah.
those changes.
And guys, listen. It actually, once you know what you're spending, what goes in and goes out, you actually feel less anxious. And I actually don't feel as anxious anymore. And also, there's one thing I do. Every time I spend something or when I get paid, I say thank you to the universe. That's something I do, and just giving, yeah.
So becoming more grateful.
Yeah.
Because even thinking about your spending, I think the next thing I'd say is, so once you've done your review and you know where you are financially, then you need to look at, what are my habits? What are some of the good financial habits that I have? So for example, do I make it a priority to save every month? Do I make it a priority to not get into unnecessary debt? Do I have financial boundaries? Also looking at, what negative habits do I have? So it could be overspending on random stuff. It could be, if you're having a good day, you might be like, oh, let me just treat myself. But really and truly, like you can't afford to treat yourself in that moment. But you're like, oh, YOLO, let's just do it anyway. So look at what are your negative habits, and then start actually, what can I do to work on it? Because no matter how bad you feel you are with money, you can change that. It's the way you manage your money is very much habit based, and it's also linked to your mindset as well. So if you can start working on those bad habits that you have, for example, I was the queen of let me treat myself. So for me, whenever I was having a bad day, my solution was, let me treat myself. It wasn't always something big. It might just be like, oh, I'll just buy a coffee, or I'll just buy myself something nice, or I'll take myself out. But the problem wasn't treating myself, is when I was doing it excessively to the point that I couldn't afford it. So sometimes I'm in overdraft, but I'm treating myself. Like, that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But then what I then thought about, okay, so as I started improving my habits, what I would do now in my budget is every month I allocate a treat me budget. So I have a specific amount that I use to treat myself. So if I want to treat myself to something random, I can, because I've budgeted a set amount each month that I have like a limit, that this is what I want to spend. So it's not always about being completely restrictive, but really just setting boundaries for yourself of what you can actually afford.
I'm so glad you said that, because not recently, basically, I also allowed myself a pot of, I didn't call it treat myself, but like sort of extra. So the extra for me would be like, maybe, I don't know, go in, like buy myself a cake or like dessert or something like that. So yeah, and it, again, like I said, basically back then I used to be like, oh fuck it, you know what? Let me just spend it. Like, you will come back, whatever. I'll be really, really nervous. But now I'm just like, oh, actually, you know what? I can afford to treat myself this week or this month, like that. I still have £50 left of that pot. So yeah, I can do that like that. Yeah.
I love that. See, you're already on the right track.
Yeah, I
That's
guess because
good.
I'm intentional. That's why it's working.
That's
But
the key, though. You're being intentional.
yeah. So what's the worst habit that you've seen that you've all heard of,
Okay, this is
or
tough.
most common one that people is
Honestly,
women do? Let's say
women.
Yeah.
I'd say, honestly, the worst habit is just living above your means. And I would say that in the sense that there's people that, like, I've seen people get into debt for a holiday that they can't afford. Like, they know they can't afford it. And it's like, oh, I'm going to use my credit card and then I'll pay it back. But there's a difference between using a credit card and you actually know within 12 months, I will be able to pay it off. Then you just do that. And it's like, you actually can't afford to pay it back within the time that you say. And then it kind of spirals out of control. So something that I've seen, there's a lot of people, they're not really aware of what they can actually afford. And it kind of links back to that sense of not being intentional, not actually looking at your numbers. Because sometimes in theory, you think, oh, I'm on, let's say, 40K a year. But you're not on 40K a year. You're actually getting less after
Of the
your taxes
tax,
and everything.
yeah.
Like your real income is your net, and sometimes that gross, like in your head, makes you think you have more money than you do.
Yeah.
So I think one of the worst habits I've seen, especially amongst millennials and also those younger, is that we live way above our means. Like, yes, you may want to go on 4 holidays a year, but maybe you can only afford one, and that's okay. So just go on the one holiday that you can afford. And I
Or
think
just don't go as far. Don't have to be flat. You can just go do a road trip.
exactly, like tailor it to what you can afford.
Yeah.
And what you can afford now is not always going to be forever, but it's going to help you better financially if you actually stay within your means, be intentional about improving your lifestyle so that you can then afford that holiday that you want to have, and you're not going to have the guilt of, oh my gosh, I've got into all this debt. You're dreading opening certain letters and it sets you back financially.
So about the credit card. So I used to have 2 credit cards. I don't have any credit cards anymore. I'll tell you why later. But I think I don't know if it's me, but I find credit card very dangerous. As soon as when I got it, basically I was like, oh yeah, I can pay it back. I'm good. Like it's almost like yes, I have the gives you the freedom to spend easier,
yeah.
right? So obviously, each card the company will have like you've got to pay back a minimum each month, whatever, and use zero, especially when it's zero interest for 12 months. That's that is more dangerous as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, so at first I was really good, just £25 there, £50 there, and I was able to pay it off each month because I was earning decent money. But then it started going to £100, £200. But the thing is, although the minimum was £50, you got to pay £50 minimum of £50 each month. I stuck to that. I should have really paid more each month, but I just thought, oh, you know what? It's 0% each month. I need that extra £50 for something.
For something else.
Yeah, like that. And then and I remember one time I went to Florence with my mum. Went to this outlet. And they had a massive Gucci shop in there.
Oh gosh, I can see where this is going.
Yeah, and then I don't know about you, but my brain is like, if I have an expectation where, for example, I thought that purse is going to be £300, which is actually expensive for a purse anyway. But if it's not what I expect it to be, it's actually cheaper what I expect it to be. So let's say it's £250, I thought it's going to be £300. To me, it's like, oh my God, that's cheap. I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So when I went into Gucci shop with my mom, actually, no, not only Gucci, we went to Coach, we went to Michael Kors.
Okay.
And we actually swept. We actually cleaned up. No, I'm joking, not cleaned up. But we actually bought like probably 10 items from Michael Kors. Different types of purses and handbags, because you know what? Also, that's another thing.
Was it a sale or?
It was on sale as well.
Okay.
And outlet as well. Another thing is because when currency is when it's not in sterling pounds, it's in a foreign currency. For some reason, my brain don't see it being. If it's expensive, it's not expensive. That makes sense. Everything seems cheaper if it's not in sterling pounds.
Yeah.
So obviously, Italy is euros. So, for example, a bag was like, just like, for example, that bag of that size was 99 euros. I was like, oh my God, it's not even 100 euros. I'm adding it to the list. Oh my God, this is 89 euros. That is cheap, 70. So, but if I'm thinking in pounds, it's actually 80, 70, 90. But I didn't my brain just didn't
connect it.
Do you know what I mean? So anyway, then went to Gucci now. There's this bag, this handbag. I still got it actually. This big. So there's 2 sizes. So there's the smaller size. From what I remember, is 430 euros. The bigger size, which is just a bit bigger, is 480 euros. Me and my mum was like, €50 extra. Might as well get the
Get the
big
bigger
one.
one.
Yeah. So I bought the bigger one, and we bought 2 pairs of glasses. The glasses were €99, so under
I'm
€100.
just calculating all this in my head. Like, I want to know the final figure.
And then obviously we bought souvenir for my brother, my dad. Belts was €99. Again, it's under 100. So again, my brain was just thinking, yeah, this is cheap. This is cheap. Oh my god, it's cheap for Gucci. That's the thing. It was cheap for Gucci. That's what I kept telling myself.
Yeah, for Gucci.
Yeah, exactly.
Not in general.
Yeah.
For Gucci.
So then I got my card out anyway. Yeah, you know what? It actually wasn't that expensive. Probably like about 800 something euros. In Gucci.
Okay.
I spent in Gucci 800 something.
I mean,
euros.
for Gucci, that's not bad.
Exactly. That's what
But
I mean.
my question is, was this on the credit card?
Yeah. That's what I mean. And I don't know how long it took me to pay off. And credit card is very confusing. You spend this amount.
Yeah.
For example, I just spent £800, €800, and then obviously we added to the amount. But what it doesn't tell you is that this €800 have been paid off. If that makes sense.
Say that again.
So like, okay, so let's say I just spent €800, which I did, €800 on this day.
Yeah.
And then on this day I will spend €400, 25, blah blah blah, like that. So basically it's different transactions.
Yeah.
So I feel if the bank statement, the credit card statement state like, okay, you've paid this amount off of this transaction, you only got this left. Do you mean?
I get what you're saying.
Because
now, yeah.
they're all added together. I don't know if it makes a difference, but for me, I feel like, oh, have I actually paid off that €800 yet? Because by the time I remember, sometimes I'll get letters be like saying, your 0% has finished now, and I don't remember how credit card was, but I just remember like that €800 has not been paid off. I'm like, I thought I paid it off by now.
Were you paying the minimum payments at that point?
Yeah. But maybe sometimes maybe a little bit more, but yeah.
But even with the 0% interest, typically it's just for the 12 months. So meaning if you've not cleared off that debt, they're going to start adding interest, which is usually really high.
I know.
So that's probably what happened in your case.
And I have to keep doing balance transfer, this credit card to this credit card. Oh my God, it was just so long. And then basically I had to take an IVA.
Wow.
Yeah, but we talk about that later though.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah. Okay. So negative habits, and then what's next?
So
is that 3? That's the third one. Negative habits. Review where you at. Negative. No.
Your habits.
And okay, the third one.
Okay, that was 2. Third one. I'm sorry. Go back to the question. I feel like I said so much. I forgot
5
the question.
tips. 5 tips to better manage your finance.
Okay. Cool. Okay, so I'd say the next thing is to have a plan for your finances. Like, if you wanted to start a business, you'd probably create a business plan. Have a financial plan. A lot of people, you may have like goals, you might have a vision board of I want to achieve this, I want to achieve that. But sometimes we're not actually disciplined or stick to our goals because they're quite loose. It's like, I would like to be better with money, but you're not actually clear about what that looks like. So I would say make a plan. So look at your finances holistically. Don't just think about 2024, this is what I want to do, or next year. But think about like, what is your ultimate goal for your finances?
So how does that plan look like? Is it like writing, okay, so now I'm going to stop spending on, like, do you know what I mean? How does it look like?
So firstly, start with what is your goal? So for you personally, let's start with myself.
Okay.
So I would think about what is my ultimate goal for my finances. It could be I want to retire at 50 years old. I need to have, let's say, £100,000 in savings, as an example, in my pension pot in order to be able to do that. That's a small amount, by the way. I'm just saying that as an example. I want to buy a house in this specific area. For me to be satisfied in my finances, I want to be able to have my essentials taken care of. I want to ensure that my family is in a good position. And then I'd plan it out. So I'd then look at what are my short-term goals. So that would be anything within the next year or 2. Then I'd look at what are the things I'd want to achieve within the next 3 to 5 years. So that's like my medium-term goals, and then 10 years plus. So I think when you do it that way and you have a bit more structure, and you might not know everything. And one thing I'd say is that with your plan, it can change. Because you will change. Situations in your life might change. So let's say, for example, you don't have children, and in the future you decide to have children. So your plans might change. But I think it's good to have an initial plan, just so it gives you kind of a guide to work towards. And also you want to ensure that the plan that you're making is based on what you want. Because I think if you don't have a proper plan for yourself, society is going to determine what your plan is. You're going to be bending your plan to, oh, my friends are doing this, or I feel like I need to have this by a certain age. And it's very easy to be kind of guided by what other people are doing, as opposed to actually making the changes based on what you want for yourself. So I'd say having a plan for yourself is a good place to start. It doesn't need to be perfect, but it's just a rough guide to kind of get you thinking about things. And also, it gives you something to be more accountable to. Like, the reason why I'm being more disciplined with my finances is because this is my goal. This is the life that I want to have for myself. And it doesn't need to be extravagant. It's whatever you desire.
And the fourth one?
Fourth one is look at ways that you can increase your income. You can't avoid this one. The cost of living is really high. And I think sometimes when it comes to money, we overcomplicate it. Like, it's not easy to make money, but at the same time it's not hard. So you've got to look at, maybe you're not someone who's like particularly money motivated, but look at your financial situation and think about, maybe you've realized that I'm about £300 short of where I want to be each month. So if you start thinking about what can I do to make that extra £300, it doesn't necessarily mean starting a business. It could be looking at your industry, looking at the job you're in. Maybe you've been in that job for 2-3 years, you haven't had a pay rise, or there aren't any opportunities for you to grow within your company. Or maybe there are opportunities, but you don't put yourself forward. I think it's really important to actually see your career in the sense of, I need to advocate for myself. I need to do what's best for me as well as the company. Because I think sometimes we look at our jobs as very one-sided. It's like, I'm here, I'm just doing, I'm just here to get paid. But also, you've got to ensure that the company you're in is actually allowing you to grow as well, and it's meeting a need more than just paying some bills. Because if you want to progress in your career, you've got to be intentional about that.
Yeah.
So look at ways that you can start making extra money. For me, that's something I learned very early on in my career, that some of the companies that I'd worked for, particularly in my industry, they didn't pay a lot, but they want you to do a lot of work. And I just thought, how are people surviving on some of the salaries that they're paying? Like, people that have children, lots of responsibilities, and they survived, but they struggled. And so that I learned that I had to start looking at other companies that paid more, that had more opportunities. And of course, that does require you to be bold, and it's hard and it's scary sometimes to make those decisions. But at the same time, you've got to be intentional about what you want for your life. And that's going to require you to come out of your comfort zone. So I'd say, look at how you can make extra money. Doesn't mean a side hustle, doesn't mean starting a business, because that's not for everyone. But it could just be, look at, are there other career opportunities within your company or maybe in another company that you can earn some extra money.
And fifth one?
Okay, so I would say for the fifth one, allocate a specific amount of money for yourself each month that will be for fun. So regardless of what your financial situation is, even if things are really tight, it could be £10. Allocate yourself a specific amount each month that you can use to reward yourself. And the reason why this is important is because if you find that you're always overspending, a lot of the time the problem is you have no limits. And sometimes you don't have a sense of what you're spending. But if you set yourself a goal like, okay, this is my boundary, £50, £100, 500, depending on what you can actually afford. This is what I'm working towards. It gives you the sense of reward. You don't feel like, oh, I'm just working to pay bills and I'm not getting anywhere. Because it can feel that way, especially if you do have debts that you're trying to get out of and you do have bills to pay and you have people counting on you. And also, you got to survive, right? So if you set yourself a specific amount, you do have that sense of, do you know what? I have my little thing that I can reward myself with. But at the same time, I'm being disciplined and I'm working towards whatever my goals are. So that's one thing I would say. Set yourself an amount that you can afford. Not the amount you'd like, but amount that you can afford right now that's not going to dig a deep hole in your pocket.
Yeah. So what tips would you give? What are things that the people in their 20s now need to know about finance?
One thing I'd say, if you're in your 20s, understand how credit works. That's like, prioritize understanding how credit works. And I say this because a lot of people in their 20s, that's when they rack up lots of debt. Whether it's the student overdraft, which is always very generous, but they don't really teach you to understand that this is not your money and that you're going to need to pay this back at some point. So really understanding how credit works and seeing credit like this. Credit is the bank or whoever it is. They're giving you this money. It's not yours, but you can use it to your advantage. So if, for example, if you wanted to build your credit, a lot of people have the intention of, oh, I'll get a credit card to help me build my credit. But they don't understand how it's going to help them to build their credit. So they get the credit card, they make some purchases, they don't pay it off or they start paying the minimum payment, which is never a good idea because one, you're only paying a very small amount towards the debt, and also you're having interest charged onto that debt. So the best thing that you can do if you do want to use a credit card and you feel comfortable that you're actually going to spend it properly, then you use it for purchases you're already going to make. So it could be groceries or when you're eating out, and then when your statement is due, you pay it off. When you do that repetitively and you're keeping your credit utilization low, that's going to help you to build your credit because it's showing that you are responsible with it, you're paying it off. But when you're someone that you're just using it sporadically and you're just paying back the minimum payments or not even paying back at all, that's actually going to affect your credit negatively. Because one, it's showing that you can't actually afford what you're spending. Two, it's showing as well that you aren't using it responsibly. So think of it this way: it's not my money, but I can use it to my advantage. And also understanding yourself. If you know that you're someone that you tend to be impulsive with your own money, with a credit card you're going to be impulsive too. So definitely prioritize in your 20s understanding how credit actually works. And
Credit is also things that can affect your credit is also like not paying any bills on time,
any
right?
bills, yeah,
Like
that can affect your
insurance,
credit.
okay. So, do I have to have a credit card to
To
my
build your credit?
Yeah.
No, you do not. I don't have a credit
Okay.
card and my credit score is excellent.
Okay. My credit score was excellent too until I got an IVA.
Exactly, which brings it down. So I think
Yeah.
a lot of the time people do think you have to get a credit card to build your credit. You don't. If you have bills in your name, so let's say utility bills, so like council tax, water, things like that, and you are paying it on time,
Yeah.
slowly but surely it will build your credit when you are registered to vote, whether you vote or not. As long as you're on the electoral roll, that also affects your credit in a good way as well. And essentially, keeping it simple, paying your bills on time. That's one of the biggest things. It seems super simple, but over time, that will help you to build your credit. And if you do have an overdraft facility that you have access to but don't use, that can help you to build your credit as well.
So what tips would you, or something that women in their 30s should know?
So we've spoken about the credit, so understanding how that works. Women in their 30s, I would say prioritize opting into your workplace pension. The reason why I say that is generally in retirement, women tend to have less money in their retirement pots than men do for numerous reasons. Most times, women might take career breaks when they have children, and also sometimes people just don't opt into their workplace pension, or because they think, oh, I'll do it next year or I'll invest on my own, and you just don't get around to it. So definitely opt into your workplace pension and do research into understanding how pensions work. It sounds super complicated, but think about it this way. Your pension is basically the money from your employer and the money that you are investing also. It's invested into different things, and the whole purpose is for that amount to grow over a number of years. The longer the money is actually in the market, the better it is, because it will go up and down, it will fluctuate. But the intention is for that money to grow, so you're going to have a larger amount at the end. So it's basically saving for your retirement, but it's being invested on your behalf. So you're not necessarily making those decisions, and it's preparing for your future. When you speak about retirement, for us, it feels so far away because it's like, oh, we're young, 30, 40 years, that's a long time. But as you can see, time goes really, really fast. And there are a lot of people now in this generation that can't afford to retire. They're having to continue working, not because they want to, but because they just can't afford to retire because their pension pots aren't big enough, or their state pension, they're not going to receive it until they're 67. And maybe right now they're like 64 and they want to retire, but they need to wait a couple of years till they receive that money. And also the state pension is not a lot. It's basically,
How much?
I think it's about 10,000 for the year. Don't quote me, but it's around that amount, which is not much.
Not
But
at
also
all.
bear in mind that's the full state pension. So there are people that you wouldn't be entitled to the full state pension because it's based on your national insurance contributions of 35 years. So if you've contributed less than 35 years, you wouldn't be entitled to the full amount. You'd be entitled to less than that. So it isn't an amount that you can just rely on, like, oh, it's okay, I don't need a workplace pension, I'll use my state. We're not in that generation anymore that works. It's more like an addition, a little top up. So maybe it can help you with some groceries in the future, or, to pay for some electricity, but it isn't something that you can live on.
That is something I never knew.
Yeah. So I would say if you are in your 30s, make sure that you're opting into your workplace pension. And if you can contribute more than the minimum you have to, which is 5%, if you can contribute 7%, it might seem like a lot, like, oh, I'm going to miss out on £50 extra every month, but that money that's being invested for you is tax free. You're not being taxed on that money yet. With your pension, you're only taxed when you take it, if it's over like your personal allowance. So that right now, she's
Still
laughing.
taxing it.
So basically, right now, technically, the money going into your pension, you're not being taxed on it yet. So if you can, for the purpose of now, sacrifice an extra £50 a month, it's going to benefit you long term.
The reason I'm laughing is because I imagine like by the time you retire, I wanted to take my pension out. You thought you had this amount, and the surprise is, oh yeah, and this is what you get actually after being taxed. Do you know what I mean? I was like, yeah,
Exactly. But again, it's the intentional part of
yeah.
things. So even for example, when your pension statement each year comes, like your workplace pension, actually read the statement.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they come, you just like, oh, I don't understand. Or if you don't understand, ask. There's people like in the helplines for those companies that will answer your questions.
Yeah.
So just, it's one of those things to help you to be more intentional. So that is one thing I'd say.
For 40s.
40s. So if you're in your 40s now, depending on when you want to retire, you've got, let's say, 25 years or so. So now it's the time, if you can, to start increasing what you are saving towards your retirement. So you don't have to just rely on, for example, your pension at work. You could also look at other things like having an ISA. So you have a cash ISA, you have a stocks and shares ISA as well. A lot of women typically tend to invest a lot less than men do. But with a stocks and shares ISA, you can invest up to £20,000 for the year across different types of ISAs. So it could be your cash one, stocks and shares, and so on. But even looking into something like that, because there aren't many things that are tax free. But when you invest in a ISA, it is tax free. So when you get to the point of withdrawing that money, you're not going to be taxed on it. And there aren't many things that are left that is tax free. So I'd say looking to actually utilizing an ISA. So whether it is a lifetime ISA, which would be more if you want to save towards a house or if you want to save towards your retirement. But I'd say read the terms and conditions because it might not suit your situation.
I want to ask you this. So, because you spoke about investment, what do you think of crypto, investing in crypto?
Okay. So I'm laughing because I'm thinking of my husband in my head. No, I was laughing because
he's a trader.
No, he's not a trader, but he does invest in crypto. But what I would say is you have to be very careful of anything that can increase 100% in one day. If it can increase 100% in one day, it can decrease 100% in one day. So you've got to be very careful. A lot of people, you want to get rich quick. And unfortunately, a lot of people invest in crypto coming into it with this warped mindset of like, I'm going to become a millionaire tomorrow. And when you're investing in anything, especially something that is like crypto, which is really high risk and it's very volatile, never invest your life savings. Just don't do it. Don't. A lot of people, they've lost their whole life savings because they have invested in crypto, or this uncle has told them like, oh yeah, invest in this coin, it's gonna blow, it's gonna go to the moon, and then it drops and you lose all your money. So I would definitely say if you are thinking of investing in something like crypto, do your research, look into the coins. Don't just do it because everyone's saying, oh yeah, it's going to go to the moon on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. Like it's probably, if people are saying it's going to go to the moon, it's probably the worst time to invest in it because it's probably going to drop. So really manage your expectations. And this is where the risk management aspect comes into it. I think because so much of our financial education now, especially for our generation, is now on TikTok, is now on Instagram and YouTube. You've really got to be careful with the kind of information you're consuming. Because I know personally people that have invested lots of money in crypto and have lost every last penny. So, but equally, people that have made money.
Yeah, I know, because one of my exes, he used to be a day trader. Literally glued to his laptop freaking 12 hours or more. But he used to make good money.
Yeah.
But I don't know how it works, this day trading thing, but I know sometimes he will make 35 grand a day. Some days he would be maybe 5 grand. So it's, like I said, very volatile. It's different. But he did say like he has managed to make just under $1 million in a year.
Wow.
But he also lost almost $1 million in 3 months.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really know how it works, but I just know that from him just doing that as his full-time job, it's allowed him to have the lifestyle he wants. Well, almost the lifestyle he wants. Like he spends a lot. He loves his designer stuff. He always be spending like 10 grand on Louis Vuitton like website or something like that, whatever. But I'm just thinking, wow.
But
Waste.
again, like you said, he's doing that as his full-time job.
Yeah.
And also, he's lost a lot of money, but he's made a lot of money.
Yeah.
So this is why the risk management aspect is really important. So if there's a potential you can lose all your money, do not invest your whole life savings. Like, that is, just don't do it.
Just do bits.
Even if someone says to you, you're definitely going to get your money back, be wary of that, because in an investment you can't guarantee that you're going to get 50% returns or whatever it is. If you're hearing things like that, it's probably a scam and you're going to lose your money. So if you do say you want to invest in crypto, do your research and make sure that you're exercising risk management, because you can get greedy. You might have invested, let's say, £100, and then it goes to 200. You're like, oh my gosh, let me just put extra 50, and then you can easily start gambling basically and just get carried away. So you've definitely got to exercise risk management.
Do you invest in crypto?
No, I do not. Okay. My husband's crypto is my crypto.
Okay.
For me, I'm more of a conventional girl in my index funds. My risk profile is a lot less than his. Whereas, and again, we'll probably come to that later. Each month we allocate ourselves an amount that we want to invest. I invest my money how I want. He invests his however he wishes. So that way we're both investing each month and we can do it according to like what we're comfortable with. So, yeah.
So, because you said invest my own and he invests on. So do you have a joint investment account, or you just invest on your own, and so you sort of like a protection for your own security?
We have both.
Okay.
And my reasons is not necessarily for protection, but just logistically and also what I'm comfortable with. So we have like a joint savings account, but we also have individual savings accounts too. For us, the way that we see our money is his money is my money and my money is his money. But that's more so because we've built that trust with each other, and it's always been that way. So even when I wasn't working and he was the main breadwinner, he never like made me feel like, oh, you need to earn this money. Like, no, it's his pay is my pay.
Yeah, that's how it should be in a relationship for me, though.
For me, that's how it should be. It should be partnership. But I do think there are situations where it might not necessarily work to have like a joint current account, because let's say maybe one person, they struggle with gambling as an example, and they're not going to be responsible and they might just spend off, your bill money. So I think depending on your situation, it's important to have those conversations with your partner. For us, before we got married, these were things that we spoke about. And for us, we're like, yeah, I think that will work for us. Along the way, we've tweaked things, but that's worked perfectly. So we have a joint current account, but we also have separate savings accounts and a joint savings account as well.
So would you say, like, for married women, she should definitely still...
Yeah, I think even thinking about it logistically, it's good to have your own separate account. Sometimes because of privacy, it gets so complicated. Like if your name is not on the account, you can't access it. And let's say something happens to your partner, it's just going to be long for you to get access to the money. So I think it's still important to have your own account. There's nothing wrong with that.
Why aren't women... Well, something basically I sort of seen before. They say, why aren't women more financially literate? Say the word. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Why aren't women more financially literate? I think there's a number of reasons for that. I think even the way that we're socialized generally as women, we're more socialized to be homemakers, to look after children. We're not necessarily socialized to manage money or to be breadwinners. So sometimes, especially depending on your culture, in some cultures, most women, they barely even get an education, or you do, but you get at a certain level. The expectation is you're going to get married and your husband will look after you. So you never really have that I need to learn how to manage money. So I think sometimes it comes from that culture can be a reason. But it's true. And I think also sometimes because of that, there's never really a need, or you don't necessarily feel like there's a need for me to learn because my partner, he will be able to do it, or my husband will be able to do it. But even if you are married, it's still important to know then whether you're single or not. And also, so I think that's one of the reasons. I think another reason is, one, most generally we don't learn it in school. But I think also naturally sometimes men are more inclined to be interested in money and providing. And I think because sometimes it's kind of linked to their identity, their career, and being able to provide, they're probably more inclined to want to learn those things, whereas we might not. But I would definitely say there are a lot more women now that are becoming more intentional about their money and are learning how to manage their money. But I also think that sometimes, unfortunately, as women, we tend to be more consumers than we are investors. But it's not always our fault. And I think even sometimes the way that things are marketed is at us.
That is true, though. They do say there is a bigger market with women.
And generally, women tend to be bigger consumers than men.
Like makeup, clothes.
And one thing I will say is I used to have a hair care business, and a lot of the times what companies do is they market a lot of things to you, but you don't actually need them. You don't necessarily need to have a shampoo, conditioner. This thing cleanses, this thing does this. Like, even with your skincare routine, a lot of these things are habits, right? You can have like 10 million products that you use that cost so much money, but really you probably only need three or four. So a lot of the times we build these habits, it
Yeah.
becomes expensive, and then that becomes our lifestyle.
Yeah.
And you feel like, oh, I need this, but you don't necessarily need it.
Yeah, and especially, when like shop goes 50% off, like sale, trying to make you feel like you don't want to miss out, because even if you don't need it, you don't want to miss out
You
on this
don't
big
want to miss
saving.
out.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
still, I don't know. So I used to fall for that. I used to be like, oh my God, I'm saving this amount. But then I'm thinking, no, I'm not saving. I'm still
I'm
spending.
still spending, but maybe I'm spending a bit
Yeah.
less, but I'm still
Yeah.
spending.
But my mum is a proper consumer. She's still like this now. And I'm just like to her, Mum, do you understand you're not saving? You're actually still spending this amount. But she goes, yeah, but it's not always gonna be this cheap, da 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 da. And my mum is one of those people, she can go to like a department store, or let's say Costco. You have those people doing samples, things, whatever, yeah. No, usually it's food, but those people who demonstrate how to use a kitchen appliance or
Yeah.
something, right? She'll be the person that's standing there, although she might not, although she may not need it. She just be like, and then, but because he looks so good, so cool, whatever, that person's good at talking as well, and she'd be so like that. She'd be like, oh, yeah, how much is this? Oh, it's not too bad. Let me get it. So her kitchen, there's a lot of kitchen appliances that she has not used, but she just likes to have them because she goes, oh no, the way she demonstrated it was really good, and and basically she bought like two different types of blenders,
Oh my gosh, how much blending did she do?
but they weren't expensive. They were like, but still,
Yeah.
but it's just like the kitchen. Yeah, she just likes collecting stuff. She's a hoarder as well. Yeah,
She's not the only one. A lot of people, we become hoarders.
yeah. Are women, from your experience, are women more likely to be in debt
Yes.
because of we're consumers?
Yeah. From the women I've worked with, a lot of the times when women are in debt, it's very rarely because they were in debt because they needed to pay a bill. A lot of the time, it just starts off with consuming. So it might be a holiday, it might be shopping, clothes shopping, or whatever it is, and then it just kind of snowballs. However, I have seen situations more so with single moms where they have gotten into debt, but it has been more so because of survival, because they've needed to pay for bills or things that their children needs. But generally, I would say, yeah, women tend to be more in debt than men are.
Yeah. And also like this new thing. Well, it's not new anymore. Klarna.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, well, I can't pay with Klarna now because of my I used to have an IVA.
Yeah.
But but when I saw Klarna, I was like, oh shit, I can't pay with Klarna because I know because of my IVA I can't use it.
Yeah.
But then I thought, actually, I'm so grateful that I did have an IVA, because now it's actually stopped me from
From using it.
yeah, and like still is a way of building good habit, I guess. Yeah.
And that Klarna and ClearPay, things
Yeah.
like that, was one of the bad habits I'd seen a lot of my clients. They'd end up each month, they'd be buying clothes or whatever it was on there, and it just became a cycle. They'd pay it off, but then the next month, it's like, oh, I need this, so I'll end up using that. And it becomes a cycle. Sometimes those things in and of itself is not necessarily bad, but when it starts becoming this habit, or you start using it when you know you actually don't need to. Like, really and truly, most people do not need new clothes every single month. Like, why do you need new clothes every single month? We don't. You've got clothes in your closet.
You know what, for me,
You can repeat the outfit.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So for me, I don't really shop like that. I don't shop every month. I'll probably shop like once or twice a year.
Yeah.
Online, like Pretty Little Thing or Shein and things like that. But I think I spend the most. No, but when I do shop, actually, I spend like £100 on Pretty Little Thing. But for me, it's like, because there's lots of different bits and pieces. It's not £100 for 2 pieces of stuff. It's like 10 items. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So for me, but that £100 not bad.
I would.
For clothes, sounds really.
I don't think that's bad.
Yeah.
I think how much you spend is relative. So for you, £100 might be fine depending on your budget. For someone else, £100 maybe is too much, girl.
True.
So I think there isn't a number that I'd say that is bad. It depends on what your budget is saying and what you can afford. But
because I don't shop every month, like I said. Like,
yeah.
if I do spend that much, usually probably like, because it's after 8 months.
That's not. I wouldn't say that bad at all. No.
Like, literally, for example, this top and this pair of trousers, actually, I bought this like a year ago, and today's the first time I'm wearing it out.
Oh
So
wow.
do you know what I mean? So like, yeah, I don't. I'm not really. I'm. I don't really buy shop bags. I know I went to Florence. I said I went to Outlet, but that was one
You
time.
still
But
got the Florence
yeah,
bags.
but yeah, but I don't really shop like for material stuff. I'm a big spend on food. I love food, like
And
as in
that,
to cook groceries, as in to cook. Yeah, because
okay.
like to I need stuff to make my smoothies. I need stuff to cook my lunch, my breakfast, because I cook every single meal.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that's where the money goes. I think that's where my
Food.
food goes. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds crazy, but food is expensive.
Mm.
Like, because I have a budget tracker, I'm able to see how much we spent on food each month. I was able to see for the whole year, and it was like over £3,000 for two people on food. And it's like, damn, that's a lot of money.
Where'd you shop?
I mainly shop at Lidl. I go Sainsbury's for the odd things that's not there. Tesco occasionally. So mainly Lidl and Sainsbury's.
Yeah,
And a
so
bit
it's
of
not
Asda.
okay. So it's not like you go Waitrose or things
Yeah,
like that.
no, I
Yeah.
don't. And that's, imagine if I did.
Yeah.
That was the crazy thing. It was like, damn, that is a lot of money.
Yeah. I do. I go. I haven't been to Aldi or Lidl in such a long time. It's because where the gym that I train and teach, there's a Tesco superstore literally
Yeah.
opposite. So I just go there and use my club card.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm thinking, oh, I've got a club card. I can
Are you,
save a
the
couple
club
of
card?
pounds.
I mean, technically you do with the club card price.
But then,
It's cheaper. But I feel
but
like they've intentionally made the non-club card price higher on
yeah,
purpose to encourage you
yeah.
to join it.
So,
But it makes sense.
but then I know for a fact if I spent the same stuff that I buy from Aldi or Lidl,
Mm-hmm.
I know it would be half the price.
Maybe not. The way things are going, I'll say
No?
probably three-quarters of the
Okay,
price.
3/4.
It will
Okay.
be less.
Okay.
But there are some things that
Yeah.
is similar.
Do you know also part of me is like I don't. Okay, just be honest with me, okay?
Yeah, I'm not gonna judge.
Part of
I'm
me.
really curious to
Yeah.
what you're gonna say.
No, it's nothing. It's nothing bad, but it's like part of me also when I spend, I don't want to. I don't want to have the mindset of like, oh shit, like be stingy with myself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be like, oh god, but it's cheaper than Aldi though. But I don't want that mindset. I want to be more free, have that abundance mindset. So I'd be like, you know what? Let me just go Tesco because I deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Is that okay to do that, or is it?
That
Or is that,
isn't
was that,
bad.
is that in denial basically?
I wouldn't say it will be in denial if your budget is saying Aldi but you're forcing Tesco. That's when I'd say it's in denial. But if you can afford to shop in Tesco, then shop in Tesco.
Okay.
That's fine. I think that's the thing. When it comes to personal finance, there isn't always a one size fits all.
Yeah.
And this is why having a budget that aligns with your goals and what you can afford is really important. Some people might spend £1,000 on groceries every month, but they can afford to do that and still save and still do other things. Maybe that isn't your situation. So you've got to be tailoring your budget to what you can afford. For me, I shop in Lidl because I refuse to spend more than I am on food already. I'm already spending so much. I shop there because it's a bit cheaper and also it's very close to my house. That's the other reason as well. But if I want to go to M&S to buy something, I'm going to go there and buy the odd thing. So it's not completely like I have to go there. I more set a budget for the month of what I'd like to spend and I try to kind of keep or shop within that.
Okay.
It doesn't always work, I'll be honest with you, because things are expensive.
Yeah.
And it's not just me shopping, it's my husband too. So it's hard sometimes.
How? Just quickly, maybe 2 tips. I think how to get out of debt if you are in debt.
Okay. First step is look at how much debt you have. That's the first step. Because sometimes, especially if you've got multiple debts, the temptation is to just kind of ignore it, ignore the letters, ignore checking the statements and seeing how much it is. So firstly, take stock of where you are. Check the debts you have. Did you do that?
Everything you're saying is like literally what I used to do. Yeah.
But that's what people do.
Yeah.
I get it. Like I get it because it's scary.
Yeah.
And sometimes the way they word those letters, it is scary. It's to scare you. So I get it. It can be daunting and it can, induce your anxiety. But firstly, check the debt. So see who you owe, what you owe, and how much interest they're charging onto that. And also then going back to your budget, how much can you afford to put towards those debts each month? I know that you mentioned that you got an IVA.
I used to have an IVA.
Used to have an IVA, that's it. That's not always the best solution for everyone. And also, even with IVAs, unfortunately
should someone
now,
take it? Is it a good idea to take it?
it can be, but it depends on your situation.
Okay.
But even now, I've seen there's a lot of like marketing of IVAs, and people don't always understand of how it's going to affect your credit after, and that it's going to take years to rebuild it, and the implications and all that. So it's for some situations it is it's ideal, but for everyone it might not be.
Mm.
And so the first thing really is just to see what your debts are, what you can afford to pay off each month. And what I'd say is, firstly, so okay, if you're not a spreadsheet person, that's fine. Write it down. So write the debt, what the debt, the amount, the interest, and keep track of that. So you can put it in a spreadsheet. You can download one online. And the key thing is just to kind of have a plan. So if you aren't paying minimum payments, at least pay the minimum payments on those debts, and also just break your numbers down. And if you're kind of like, it's too much, I don't know what to do, then seek help. That's the next thing I do. Seek help. There are charities like Step Change where you can get debt advice for free. So if you are strapped for cash and you need help and you need impartial advice, then seek that out. You're not going to be judged. I'm sure they're going to actually help you. So do that before you make any big commitments like, oh, I'm going to get IVA or I'm going to declare bankrupt, because that might not necessarily be the best situation for you. Like, I've had clients that have had thousands of pounds of debt, but we've made a plan, they've stuck towards it, and they've been able to clear their debts. So sometimes you can get out of debt without having to take that extreme example.
Yeah.
You know?
Actually, let me touch on the IVA, because I think some people might want to know why I took an IVA, or how it was, how it was for me. Personally, I would tell people, do not take an IVA, because, like you said, it's not that they didn't explain to me that it would mess up.
Sorry, before you took the IVA, how did you hear about it? What made you take an IVA?
Okay,
how did you? Yeah.
Okay, so I don't. Okay, let me just go back. I don't want to blame it on my ex. Okay, but because I should be accountable of my own actions. But so I was with this guy for 9 years, and one of them, my credit card, because I said I had two. One was actually my own. The second one's actually because of him. I took it out.
Okay.
Yeah, and he said, cause basically he was struggling with bills, and he goes, oh please, rather than you using your salary to help me pay it.
Oh no, I
can
see
you,
where this is
yeah,
going.
can you please take a credit card for me? I just need £300 to pay off this bill, blah blah blah. I was like, okay, cool, yeah, my man, of course. So I did it, because also people might be thinking, why didn't he do it himself? Because he's got really bad credit.
Oh, I already knew that was the answer.
Yeah, he's got really bad credit. Yeah, so there's no way he can get a credit card anyway. So I got it for him, blah blah. So that's that. So obviously that £300 became, each month he would then withdraw. Oh, actually, I need more money. He went to withdraw more money, and so on and so on.
Was he ever paying any back?
Yes and no. There have been
Okay.
times where he did. Maybe he paid me £25 there, £50 there, but it was never consistent. That's the
Okay.
thing. So and then there'd be like maybe a few months he didn't pay me at all. So anyway, so then so obviously that built up, blah blah. Then I did use that credit card myself as well. But the ones that, so I did use a bit of my own stuff on that same credit card. So it's a bit of both of us. But my point is that I wouldn't have got that credit card if it wasn't because of him.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then after, then we broke up, and then I said to him, like, at first when we broke up it was civil, but I think when you're someone's heartbroken, you become like, he obviously got angry with me, but pissed off at me. So then originally we made an agreement, he will pay me back like £50 each month, and because now he's so heartbroken, he goes, you know what, I'm not gonna pay you back. Like, you're not gonna get your money back. Fine. I didn't want to fight with him, so whatever. Anyway, so I went on paying it off myself. So now I have to remember, so bear in mind, I have two credit cards.
Yeah.
Each month I'm paying £100 on both of these credit cards. And this is where my bad management comes in. Although I had a decent job, part of me felt like these credit card affected, as in I was struggling to pay these two credit cards because I was just so bad at managing other stuff. But then if I think about it, actually I did have more than enough money to pay them off. Anyway, so moving forward, so then about a year later, then I was like, I really want to, I don't know, maybe I said it out loud or in my brain, I don't know what, but I just said, I really want to pay these off, like these debts, blah, blah. Oh, I know what happened, because in my head I was thinking, how can I pay this debt off quickly? So I Googled.
I was just gonna ask, did you Google it?
Yeah, I Googled how to give, blah, blah. No, it was just like these kind of like Wikipedia or no, Investopedia, whatever, all that kind of stuff, like website giving you tips. Now, your phone, your smartphone, they have what do you what are they
What,
called?
cookies?
Cookies, your algorithm, all that. So then now I'm on Instagram. Obviously, these sponsored adverts start popping up, and because you've searched it, and when these adverts is it's basically these people would have detected that people who are sponsoring these adverts would have detected, oh, this woman is or this person is interested in
Getting out of debt.
yeah, getting out of debt. So then when you see this, you'd be like, oh my god, what a coincidence! I need this. Like,
It's never a coincidence.
yeah,
It's the
exactly.
cookies.
Yeah, you think the universe is helping you or whatever. You think, oh, it's a sign, right? I was seeing this every single day. At first, when I saw it, I was like, oh, nah, whatever. Kept seeing it
Do you
every single
remember
day.
roughly what it said?
It would just say, oh my god.
Was it
Oh,
something to do with like 99% of your debt
no,
or something
yes,
like
yes.
that?
But you know what they said? This is another thing. This is marketing. They said, um, are you a single woman who's struggling with your debt? They said, are you a woman? So it's really like targeting. See, this is even this is actually a good lesson about marketing actually. Anyway, but it's a proper targeting, so you feel involved. Like, I was like, yes, they're
This
talking
is
about
me.
me. Yeah. Struggling
Wow.
to pay off your debt. Yeah, and you said like get 90% of your debt written off, blah blah blah. Never have to pay it again. So it was so attractive. And I was like, literally just, and it was like, click here to book your first, book a call to find out more. I was like, you know what, let's find out more. Listen, whenever it says find out more, it's not just find out more. They will somehow, these are salespeople, by the way. They will somehow manage to get you to sign up for it. So, okay, so I signed up. They gave me a call within half hour. Same day, yeah? And it was like, so tell me what brings you here, but why did you want to call us? So I told them to switch situation, obviously, because now you told them your situation, they know how to freaking like sell it to
Oh
you.
yeah.
Anyway, so then they explained everything. They explain how the credit score works, like how it affects your credit score, blah blah. But obviously, don't say it's so scary. They just but don't worry. 6 years later, um, it will be wiped off your credit score, so a credit file, so they won't see it. But it was bankruptcy though, it will be there forever. Blah blah blah. So they're trying to make it like IV is not that bad.
Trying to make it more attractive.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So then I was like, okay, yeah, yeah. Let me think about it. And obviously, these people would follow up.
Oh yeah. I think they're gonna be
Send
calling
me
you.
text messages and called me, and I was like, okay, let me answer this, and I did, and I signed up. Signed up, and I was in £15,000 debt, and they written all off. So I literally paid all the loans that I took out, all the credit cards, but 2 bank loans, 2 credit cards. Can't remember what else I was owing, but literally they basically paid everything from off for me. And for those who don't know what the difference, what IVA is, basically, instead of like, let's say you've got 3 credit cards, instead of paying for each for all 3 credit cards each month, basically, this company will assess how much you can how much you can afford to pay each month, um, just one single amount that will cover that total amount.
Yeah.
Is that right? In it, yeah. So yeah, so then for me that sounded attractive. Yeah, rather than me paying £300 a month, I can just pay £85.
Mm-hmm.
But and they also said after 6 years, if you don't pay it off, it'll be written off. You don't need to pay anymore. But that's when they start count. Oh yeah, and it's 6 years. Oh yeah, so after 6 years, when you haven't, whether you have paid it off or paid or not, sorry,
Or not paid it
or
off.
not paid off, then you have to wait another 6 years for it to be off of your credit file.
Did they tell you that in the beginning?
I don't remember. That's the thing. They probably did, but I didn't take it in.
Yeah.
Right. But if you do want to pay it in lump sum before well ahead, let's say for example a year later you decide to want to pay it all in lump sum, maybe because you got a new job or someone's helping you, you can get someone to pay it off for you. So I'm so grateful. My dad, and then he was like, you know what? Yeah, so because they found out in the end, basically. Yeah. My they
Had you kept it hidden?
yeah, and then my dad was like, no, let me just pay it off for you because I don't want to. I don't want you to not be able to have a proper like, live your life or get a mortgage or whatever. So yeah, so I paid it off in 3 years. So now that's when my 6 years starts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So people, I'll just say, look, from my experience, do not get an IVA. Find a financial coach.
Hey.
Or whatever, or someone like help you learn how to budget, learn how to manage your finance, but do not go down the IVA route. Seriously, I regret I don't regret many things in life, but that is the one thing I regret. Well, actually, that being said, if I had not done that, I think I would learn.
Yeah.
So
In hindsight.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, I think when it comes to anything financial, we do have the bad habit sometimes of not reading the terms and conditions, but read it. Like, and if you don't understand, ask for clarification. If you're ever feeling pressured to sign up for something, whether it's an investment or even it's a decision on something financial, give yourself time. If you're being pressed, oh, you need to do it by today, don't. Because you're just going to do it without really assessing whether you understand it or not. And you don't want to lock yourself into something and then
Yeah.
regret it later on.
And also because now that I've got an IVA record, they say that it's hard for me to get a mortgage, which is why my dad said he gonna help me pay off now. So then the 6 year starts. But some people said that you can still get a mortgage, but it's just harder. Is that
You can still get a mortgage. Well, I'm not a mortgage advisor, but I know that you can still get a mortgage. It's just that maybe the brokers will be less, like there'll be less people willing to lend to you, or they would charge a higher interest rate. So maybe someone with good credit, they'd give them a lower interest rate. But if you had an IVA, or let's say you just have bad credit for other reasons, you can still get a mortgage. It's just that your options will probably be less in terms of lenders, and they'll probably charge you a higher interest rate. So you can, like, don't think your dreams are over. They're not.
yeah.
It's just going to be a bit more expensive for you.
Yeah. And I'm so in when the first 3 years when I took the IVA, I'm just like I was so ashamed. I was so embarrassed. Obviously I didn't want to tell my parents because I know they would freaking like have a go at me. But then I thought, oh no, actually wait, no. How did I tell them? Oh yeah, because they kept going to me. Why? When are you gonna buy a house? When are you gonna get on the property ladder? And because they also wanna. So this is also a culture thing. They wanna use my name to help them buy another property for them to sort of buy to let. Because the age they can't really get another mortgage, so they want to add me to
Makes
the
sense.
to yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, Mom, I can't do it. She goes, why? And I was just like, I'm not earning enough. I was just like trying to make excuse. She goes, why not? Like, I can help you out because we got family business. Just put your name towards the company. Da, 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 da. I said, okay, Mom, look, this is the truth.
This is the real reason.
And I told them, yeah. And they was like, what? What? Like, they just, yeah, had a massive lecture. And, yeah.
But you know what? People do that so often. Like, and I get it. When you're not happy with your finances or you've made a decision and you're like, oh my gosh, what have I done? You just kind of feel embarrassed and you don't want people to judge you. You don't want people to give you a lecture, because you've already done it to yourself.
Yeah.
So sometimes you kind of just suffer in silence. But the longer you do that, the longer it's gonna take. You've got to speak up.
Yeah. But on the bright side, now that although I know it's on my record, but it's not holding me back because if you know me, I'm a very positive person. I'm always very like, yeah, optimistic. Ain't nothing's gonna hold me back. Ain't got ain't nobody got time for that. So I'm still doing like what I'm enjoying. So yeah, it's not holding me back. Right, let's move on. Let's move the dynamic a little bit because I want to talk about the relationship.
Okay, let's talk
with
about
finance and stuff like that because I did talk about about my situation. And that is the end of part 1. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Next week, you're going to see us talking about finance in relationships, so marriage and also financial abuse. So if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel or follow me on Spotify, whatever platform you're using, so you do not miss the next episode. All right, see you at the next episode. Love you. Mwah.